Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sjimi and Andreas Show, our bi-weekly update for SaaS founders and investors. Today is November 13th, and with me is my colleague Dimitri, or Sjimi as we call him, to talk about things that draw our attention. Welcome, Sjimi. How was your week already?
Busy? A short week, busy, but good.
I heard you're tackling some performance issues on one of our clients.
That is indeed correct.
For what I understood, basically, we've been diving into these performance issues for them, and we did some research on the framework level and on the implementation level. But in the end, it turned out that it was probably a infrastructure configuration thing that caused most of the problems, or that was at least a significant gain in speed. Is that what you saw?
Yeah, I think after doing some post-incident analysis, we figured out that the VPC connection, so it was on an infrastructure level, was one of the throttles, like a bottleneck. And then, we increased the capacity of the big VPC. But interesting enough, like when we dived deeper in the post-incident, we could see that there was at a certain day, there was a spike in the load of the application, because the VPC, if you think about it, it shouldn't be able to handle that much traffic, like the application is that big. So now we're actually diving deeper in what this problem could have, what could have increased this load. And it turned out that it was a one-liner, and it was actually a configuration setting. It was, I think, something for the queues, where the configuration was a sleep. Then it was a sleep configuration, and if you set it to 0, which people had done because they wanted to process word messages, what happens is that it constantly, every 0 milliseconds, it will ping your Redis for the queue message.
Yeah, that's actually not what I wanted to talk about this week, but that's fine. We covered that. I think it's very interesting and a good learning for sure. One of the things that we're facing with in another project is the fact that one of the things we very often do is dealing with technical debt and legacy code bases. We recently joined a bigger team. I think there are like 20 people to help them with that. There is like one of our CTOs and 2 of our engineers that are helping with them or working with them. And we're facing this challenge where basically we're working in a corner. We're not having access to the full organization or the full team. They see us as like the people that come and fix the legacy. But of course, that's not how it works. How do you look at that yourself? Like, would you approach something like that where, let's say, a CEO thinks that the solution to legacy is just have 2 engineers fix it? What would be your answer to that?
Yeah, I think it's a spectrum, like everything nowadays. I think we've had situations where we are being put in the normal teams, like in the product team, and then we're just operationally there. Now you have a case where we're working in isolation and you're just going to work on tackling the legacy. I think where we need to be on that spectrum is in the middle, right? We need to be able to work or have the mandate to work on the technical debt, but you can only do that by including the teams that are working on the product aspect as well. We're including certain team members so that the knowledge is shared, so that you can collaborate, they know the platform better, usually can take more speed. By doing the work there together in collaboration, you will gain trust more with the technical stakeholders as well, the engineer themselves. So I think that's the sweet spot. And maybe your question is, how do you get there, right? If the CEO doesn't really believe that, I think it's by moving there anyways. Sometimes you don't have to ask permission for everything. Like sometimes giving everything an explanation makes things more difficult. But I believe that we have the capabilities to do that. I would open the lines with some of the engineers, try to create those communication lines in collaboration, set it up already, and then I think with our capabilities, you can actually prove your worth by doing the work there. And I think in the end, that will have a positive effect, and it will help you to gain trust with the stakeholder as well, where you can do more of that and you can actually move more to the middle. It requires some stakeholder management, but I think from my experience, what I've learned is that sometimes you just need to do things on your own and trust your gut feeling and move there already, even though that you don't have the full trust of the stakeholder already. In the end, you're doing everything with the best intentions, and sometimes shortcutting, official approval, staying a bit under the surface can help with that, I think.
That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, the last thing I want to touch on is it's something you probably don't know yet, but Cloud actually this week announced that they now, I mean, because Cloud is mostly in a command line, right? Which is of course a barrier for people to use it. But they announced actually this. I mean, Cloud Code, to be very precise. Cloud, of course, you can access from wherever, but Cloud Code has always been like a command line interface thing, or a IDE plugin. And actually, I think today or yesterday they announced that there is now also Cloud Code Web. So basically, you can actually, go on the web, type what you want to do, just select the repo you want it to work on, and get it to work. And it's pretty neat because you can also run things simultaneously, and so it doesn't need to work on your computer anymore. How do you look at that? Because of course, I think you're using Juni from JetBrains, and also some Cursor, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I've used Cursor in the past. I've used at the moment I'm mainly using Cloud Code, like the desktop application. I haven't ventured too far into the agentic approach yet. But yeah, I think everything that lowers the barrier for people, the better, right? Even if it's not installing an application anymore, I think it can help a lot. How do I look at it further than that? I need to dive in. Like, I need to get this agentic stuff. I need to try it out. Like the
because Cursor also announced some kind of agentic system in the latest version, right? Where they have. Yeah, that's one of the things that always annoyed me, that the waiting on these things. Cool.
Yeah, I think even if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in GitHub's newsletter as well. Like even Copilot, they're moving a lot more to that. I think now on GitHub you can have your repository of agentic tasks, and you can get an overview, and you can fine tune them on the go as they're working. So I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in this space, and it's just I need to get my hands on it, to be honest.
Okay, so next time.
Next time, you give me something I have to solve with agents, and I'll get it done like that.
Awesome. The preparation of this series, I guess. Cool. Let's try to summarize things. I think what we discussed today is that every engineer also needs to understand like the underlying infrastructure when they're trying to solve problems, especially performance problems. Obviously, I think you can also say that technical depth cannot be fixed in isolation. It's a team effort. You cannot do it in a corner. And we see coding assistants also going again agentic, which is obviously very nice. And we will keep you posted on our experiments with those. Thanks a lot, Sjimi, and see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Yes, bye-bye.